taking you guys through Revit structural modeling essentials. So today we'll be going through a project where we'll model a building, a reinforced concrete ground plus one-story building in Revit, and I'll take you through all the requirements that you need to know from the theoretical aspect to the practical hands-on modeling of this structure using Revit. So without further ado, let's get into it. So once you open your Revit software, depending on the year you're using, um, you'll be led to this opening page where you see this interface. So the very first thing you do is to open your model or to start a new model, right? So you click on this section under model, click on new, and then you select a template, right? I've already created a template which I'll use for my project. So you go to browse, then you click on the specific templates that you're using for that you want to use or that you set for your project's modeling set, be it structures or architecture. Since we are focusing on structures, I've created a template for structural detailing works where I've imported all my formulas and everything that I need to move through my modeling smoothly without uh, doing everything from scratch. So we can open. Now I have my templates file and I click on OK. So let's just wait whilst it loads. Okay, so our Revit file has opened, right? So let's save this file so that we have it down. Let's click on the file, go to save as, and then we are saving it as a project. Let's give it a name. Uh, Revit structures project one. Revit structures project one. Let's go to option and then give save backup as one. Click on OK. Um, where's the okay? So where do you want to save this document at? Do you want to save it somewhere that we know exactly where it's going to go? So let's save it on desktop. Okay, so save it on desktop. Okay, so our Revit file has successfully been saved. So what I do most of the times, I don't work with the analytical, so I delete those analytical view out of my model. You're not also working on sites, but you can leave that or you can also delete it depending on your requirements. So uh let's go to the AutoCAD file that will be referencing from. So this is the architectural plan drawing that will be replicating. So this is the ground floor plus the first floor, and then we have roofing just above the first floor. So we're going to also do a structural model that meets this requirement. Now, the very first thing you have to do is to study the architectural plans, looking at elevational differences between the floor plan. So you can see for our corridors, right, the outdoor seating, we have a elevation of plus 600 from the natural ground. And when you go into the room reception, you see that we have a slab step up of 150. corridor 600, 150, step up into their rooms. So we have to pay attention to all those requirements. And if you put a model that meets those architectural elevational differences, you also have to look at your structural requirements, where you also focus on what the designer has given to you. So the designer has given to you all the structural elements, their sizes, and also giving you the detail requirements, so, which includes the reinforcement type, the count number of each of these reinforcements for each of the structural elements, and then the spacing that you have to follow through. You have to understand all those requirements, and then you can go in and have a successful detailing work done that will meet the design intent that has been forwarded to you. So we'll just go through this process as quickly as possible to get an understanding of how this is done. Okay, so the very first thing when you get a model is to, like this, is to model your datum elements, model your datum elements. So this datum element includes two things, right? That's one, your grid lines, and two, your levels, right? So um, most of the times you start with the levels first. So let's do levels, then we do grid lines. Right. So we model our levels first. So again, this levels is in correlation. This levels is in correlation with architecture levels. Right. So you have to make sure that you look at it closely so that you're following everything. The grid lines, which include both the horizontal or vertical grids, also should be in correlation with grids, right? So we also make sure everything follows a streamline order. So let's go, let's see how we will do this successfully. So let's start with the levels. So the very first thing when you want to start with the levels, you look at your project browser here, you can click on any uh, elevational section here that you want to click on. It's not southwest, so you can click on anyone. So let me click on the east. Once you click on that, you see a standard guideline that has already been given to you in your model. So we have your level one, we have your level two. Right, so let me send this to you. There, let me send this. Okay, so that's it, that one. Now, let's start with our leveling. So before we start with our leveling, we have to have a very good understanding of what the level is for your particular project, right? The level requirements. So let's draw let's draw a level requirement for this project as essentially as possible. We can do so. We have our level requirement. So let's draw a line. We have a line here. Okay. So this is our foundation base that we have the way. And we use a different color then. Let's use orange. Well, we have the technical report, right? Uh, let's see. This over here is our foundation level. Our foundation level. Right. So that will be the base of your footing. After you dig the natural ground down to the base of your footing. So that's where you have our foundation level. Now, some people can go further. After the foundation level, they go down like 100 mm. They go down 100 mm. Again, to set the what we call the 360 plain cement concrete. What we call the plain cement concrete, right? So when you're modeling, you can also put in that requirement where after the foundation level, you go down 100 mm or 50 mm, depending on design requirement. You do your plain cement concrete level. So you look at that. So for this project, let's use 1 meter from natural ground to from the natural ground to foundation level to be 1 meter. So that's this natural ground. You note it as NG. That's our natural ground. Now, when you're going up again by what? Going up again by because we have level differences at the top. We have 750, we have 650. Right. So let's use the highest elevation. Let's go up by 0.75. Okay. So that our 0.6 will be within this same level. So this will be our ground floor. This will be our ground floor. Which will be 1.75 over here. Right. And then we have our first floor. Our first floor. Right. Which are also going for a distance of a different color. Let's use a different color. Yeah. Let's use yellow. Okay, so we're using this one, we are going 3.15. From the ground floor to our first floor, we're going up 3.15. So if we have 3.15 plus 1.75, that gives us 0, which will give us 1.789, which will give us 4.9. So we have the you know our first floor to have elevation of 4.90 meters. Meters to 1.75 meters. So everything is limited. And then we go up to our um, final floor, which is our roof level, right? So our roof level, this one has an elevation of 3.7 per the architectural requirements. So when you're studying it, you just look at it, make sure you follow exactly what is there. So 3.7. So now you know that we have 4.90 plus 3.70 plus 9 we have 9, that'll be 16, carry 100. So our final level will be 8.67. 8.60. So let's also write that down. Let's do that there. 8.60 meters, right? So this is our final level. So if you pay attention to this very carefully, and then from this side is where we now have, but this level is where you now have your either it's a pitch roof and pitch roofing system. Yeah, you get that will now come and then leaves with on top of this level, right? Then the architectural design. So you pay attention to that very carefully and make sure you follow that this level requirement. So now that we have this, what do we do? So let's go back to our Revit model. We are now going to follow that those levels, make sure that we are achieving the same thing. So and also the name is also very important. So you know the very first name that we had was products foundation level. So you do the same thing on my in the first foundation level. So that's the level zero. That's the level zero. You know, from your foundation level to your uh ground floor is 1.75. So we already have a level two here, right? So you rename it the your ground floor level. Ground floor level. Five. Let's capitalize the beginning of ground floor level. And that was what 1750 like that. Okay. 1750 like that. Okay. So that's our ground floor level. Now you're coming to draw your levels, right? You can draw it either from because when I see the two mobile, you can draw it there or you can move to structures. You also have it there. So what you're going to click on is levels. Once you click on the levels, right? The context panel open where you see this arrow, you select it, and then you give the offset the next level that you're looking for. So the next level we're looking for is our first floor, which is 4.90, or you can offset it by the distance. Instead of typing 4.90, which you get wrong. So you have to affect the offset distance of this line. That will be 3.15. Okay. So offset it by 3.15. The meters will be 3150 in millimeters, right? And you just hover close to where your arrow is. Hover and push it like you're going up. Like if you do it like you're going down, you can see that if you draw the gray line downward, which is wrong. So you hover like you're going up. Select, it comes there with a 4.9 the way you want it. You can decide to draw all the gray lines before you come and edit the names. Okay, so you pay attention to that very carefully and have your modeling methodology which you feel makes sense to you. So let me model all the lines before. So the next one is 3.7. You give us the roof level to 3.7. You just change it to like 3.7. Then we hover up and select. You have a 8.6. We have a level 6. So at least now what we do and you're going to select, so you edit it. So let's just edit this one and name it our first floor level capitalize it here. This is our first floor level, not our first floor level, over there. Let's go to this and answer. Yeah, level. That's nice. Now, when you do that, you see that this has coloration difference. This is showing black, this showing blue. The black means this first floor and roof floor is not visible in your structural plan, right? But these blue ones are visible. So you can see you have foundation and ground level. But you don't have anything for first floor and roof level. So you have to make sure you correct it by selecting it. Go to new, and select it, go to here. Then you go to plan view to buy the fruits, click on structural plan. Yeah, make sure you're saving the project to Revit is not unforgiving. Now you select both of these two levels because you want them to be fixed to the fit on it. Right. Now you have them visible when you go there. So you can see that all the colors are now very important. We follow through those processes. Okay, now we have all the levels, the way we want them. So what do you do now? Now we we go and model our what grid lines. So our grid lines, we could model our grid lines anywhere. In the, at least any other floor you draw it. It's not like when you draw it on a roof floor level, you won't see it on ground floor. It's not a specific uh, element for just a level. You draw it in any of the levels, you see it regardless of the levels you are at. So for now, let's draw this grid on our ground floor. So it's the same process. So you come to structure, right? From structure, then you go to grid lines. That's what I did grid lines. And then you can hover anywhere you want. So we are doing both vertical and horizontal. So you're starting with the vertical first. You can there's where you're doing your first reference line. Okay. So let's hover down from down to going up, down, going up. You also have up, going down. So this is down, going up. So that's how you normally draw it. Down, going up, and then you can stop anywhere that you prefer. So after drawing your first line, go to your architectural model or the model you're referencing from and see what that grid was named. That grid was named one, so that's a numeric grid. So the vertical lines are numeric, the horizontal lines are what alphanumeric, so that's the alphabet. So you know this is 1, 2, 3. You also have to follow the same process when you are doing your grid lines. So let's do one. So now our next model, our next grid line is 3. So it has a distance of 3650. So you have to replicate the same thing. So one, you go to structure, click on grid, click on the context panel. This one, this pick, pick line with the arrow, you select that one. Then you're doing this. Okay, so we draw our next grid line, which is grid line 2. It has a distance of 3.65 meter. So you replicate that, select this arrow from the context panel and give that offset value. So 36505. And then you also select hover it, moving to the right. But you don't hover it this way, moving to the left, the right. So you have it this way. And you look at the next one. The next one is grid line 3, and that's 2335. We do the same thing. 2335. Grid line 3. You have it there. That distance. Do the next one. 375. 375. So we give that 375. We have that one there. And then you do the next one. The next one is grid line 5, that's 1450. 1450 to 1450. And give that the cover it to the right. You have it there. Then give the next one. The next one, which is from grid line 5 to 6, that's 3650. 3650. 3650. Over that one to the right. Okay. I'll be a grid line. Save the next one is your grid line 7. It was 1650. 1650. 1650. So you can do that become 1650. Over to the right. Select that. You have that done. You do the next one, which is grid line Uh, 8, and then 8 is also 1650. Do the same thing, 1650, another one again. Then you do the next one, which is grade line 9, 3650. 3650, 3650, over to the right. Do the same thing for the next one, grade line. There's also grade line 9 to 10 is also 3650. So you do the same thing there too. You do 3650 for that one. And then grade line grade line 11 is 1650. Yeah. 1650. I provide you the there. So we have those grids for the vertical down. So let's do the horizontal. So the same thing. So same process. So you go back, click on grids, right? And then you click on grid, make sure the context panel shows, right? So let's click on escape, click on grid, and then let's draw our first grid. But this is the first reference grid that you're going to. Most of the times, it's better you start from bottom to up. So A, these are A1, B. So let's start from the bottom. That was grade line C. Okay. So I just pick any random you can just pick here, move from left to right, this left. Basic, and just stop this. Revit automatically wants to continue this as 12 from this one, but you can break that process by changing the name to A, and now it automatically will start be using that. Okay, you can understand how to now be using the numeric for the horizontal. So let's see what happens when we try and do the next grade line. So our next grade line is A0, and that's good. If you're doing 552, 552 mm. So there's the structure, let's click on green, let's click on this arrow segment here, type the 552, see what happens when you hover after this. You're hovering up, not down, so you're going upward. So you see how the, okay. But you know, what is there is not B, so that is zero, right? So you can just click on it twice, then give you the name A0, similar to the architectural one. Now, the next one you have there is A1. So A0 to A1. So now we're going 625. 625. A1 is 625. So you can just select this click on structure, click on grid, click on arrows, type the number 625, hover up. Right. Now we have our A1 over there. Okay. So let's go to the next bit that we want to draw. Want to draw a bit of B. So down from A1 is 850. B. So let's type it over here. 850. 850. Let's we have it there. And then over there. It's really good to your I don't want that name. So that's too good. So you have to escape, so that you don't mistakenly draw a grade line before you come and do this edit. You can draw everything and then come and edit afterwards, but we are just using this method. So we, okay, so we have B there. Now let's do the next one. The next one is B1, which is 1150. From B to B1 is 1150. So we'll do the same thing. Click on grid. Let's save our project for our safety. Arrow, leave our offset value 1150. Our offset value is 1150. That is 1150. Yeah, and that's B1. That's B1. Okay. Then that's the next one. The next one is C is 925 from B1, 925 from B1. The structure, click on grid, let's click on our arrow segment, click on our arrow segment, and what is the 925? So B1 to C, B1 to C is 925. So cuts wise measure once, 925. Like, is it cuts wise measure once? It's measured twice, cut once, measured twice, cut once. Sorry, guys. Okay, so, yeah, I was so sure about that. So this is so before you do into this, you can so there's selected. So that's C. Now let's check our next one. Our next one is B, which is 2075. I can declare 2075, and then to give you the 2075. Our next one is E 1650. 1650. Also cover like you're going up, you have the 1650 there. Our next one is the UTS, which is 1512. 1512. 1512. Cover direction and yeah, that's F. The next one is F1, 1486. 1486. That's F1. That's fine. So let's change the name to F1. 1486. Then let's do our next one. Our next one is G, which is 1150. 1150. We change 1150 into the G without the G. And then finally, our other next one is in H, which is 850. 850. 850. Okay. So we have it already as 850 as our H. Okay, so we've drawn all our grid lines. Let's save the model so that I don't have to do this twice. The next thing you have to do, and make sure you have to make sure you escape twice. So you don't need to draw anything multiple times. So let's edit our grid line by bringing all this down. So after it something. And that makes sense. We got this one down. This one to right value everything. So I guess. Okay. So let's copy all these grid. Move it to it's like edit. That's the thing. Let's move this one a bit close to others. Let's move this a bit close to others. Let's make this one a bit close to it like this. Push it like this. Let's move this one a bit close to it like this. Okay. So we've done all our grids. So another thing to we can actually edit this line so that they are not close to each other. So it's showing now. So you can see, then so let's bring this one down to bring the lines down. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. I just look at this way. So we have our grid lines drawn. We have our levels, different levels as we come. So now if you go to any of the levels, we got a foundation level, um, sorry, this level, we have our guidelines all showing without, um, uh, uh, okay, so we have our grid lines modeled, we have our datum lines also modeled, and we can see that all our grid lines and our arrangement is showing in each of the levels. So the editing already in the other levels not showing over here and the roof level. So I'm sure for those ones you have to do them individually. But your grid lines are still in the grid lines are still in each of the levels. So you just pay attention to those ones very well. So you can see your first floor levels, you just edit, let's select, edit that one. So how am I doing this? So you say that there's a break line, you hit on the break line, and then it does that, so you can pull it down, or however you want to pull it. So your aesthetic preferences, so you just look at it that way. Let's look for foundation, so let's say limits. I'm sure there's a way you can do all this in one shot. So for what you're doing right now, I just want to show you how you can do this manually with your mouse. But if you have a faster way of doing it, either by writing a script using Dynamo, Grasshopper, etc. You can also do that as quickly as possible and then move away from clicking of mouse the way we are doing now. But for now, let's not run faster than our legs can carry us and understand how to do all these processes manually. Okay, so now you have all that done. What do you do next? You have your grid lines. Now you move on to uh, modeling our structural elements. Okay, so in order to model your structural element, you have to understand the prerequisites, sizes of each of these members, and then study the elevation differences in architectural plan, everything very well to the T. And then you can come and then remodel that precisely how it is in their architectural structural model, right? So you're following that order of design. Okay. So let's see how how what we have to focus on to get this done correct. So for this particular project, right? This particular project, we have a round column. So this part is what we call the structural element you'll be modeling, right? So you're modeling some structural element. So we have a round column, round or circular column, whatever I want to call it, circular column, size of 250 dia. And then we have our rectangular column. two, 200 mm. Okay. Now, yeah, let's put all that down so you know what exactly you have. Okay. So you also have our footing sizes. So let's talk about footing sizes. Our footing sizes. We have stiffener columns in there. Right. So we have 600 by 600 base for the stiffener column. Right. By 300 by 200 mm. That's the depth. So this is our length, this is our breadth, and this over here is our depth. Okay. So it's type one. Okay. So you have to pay attention to that. Because most of the time they give you a markup. When they design, they give you a markup which you're going to follow. Right. Now you also have 1 meter by 1 meter by 300 mm. And the fixing size type 2. So this to this. And also have and also have 1.2 by 1.2 by 300 mm. That's type 3, fixing size type 3. Okay. So these are what we'll be modeling, right? These are what we'll be modeling. So after we are finishing to them, then our slab and our solid slab, the solid slab system, right? And that's 150 mm. That's for suspended and then the slab on grade. So that's goes for the suspended slab on grade. I ground floor, right? Which one is go first floor? Okay. You then let's check for our beams. So for our beams, we have for ground floor, we have 150 by 300. And then these are widths and these are depths, right? And then that's the unit. So our first floor, we have 200 by 450 mm. And then for our roof, you know, let's have the same thing, 400 by 450 mm. That's for our beams. Okay. So the other thing that will also be modeling will be the staircase. Also modeling the staircase. Right. So that's one. So we'll take close attention the elevation Pay close attention to the elevations and the architecture, um, staircase requirement, staircase requirement. And use that logic and use that logic to model very pay close attention to that. Okay, so let's go to our let's go to where we give in member the member details for each of the structure elements. So let's start with the round circular column. So okay, so uh, inside, so you go to structure. Now you go to this part which says column. Okay. Uh, the properties palette, these are properties palettes. That's where you can do all the changes you want to do for the type of structural elements you're working with. So you click on this section which shows UC universal column. Click on the drop down. Now there's a drop down that comes, right? So you can see this one is showing you 300 by 450, 450, da 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 da. Okay, so as if you want to model that one and also edit the type, and then you model that. But we are not modeling what's the name? We are not modeling rectangular now. We want to start with the circular column, but we don't have that family, right? You can see we have two families. We have the rectangular column family, universal column. So means we have to load a family, right? We have to load a circular column family into our model. So we are not working with the rectangular column as I said earlier. What we are going to work with is first, as per following this order, we want to model a column that has the 250 mm diameter. So we have to make sure that we load that family since we don't have it currently loaded into this project. So what we do is that we go to the insert section at the top of our ribbon, go to load family, and then download to have it over the double click, select it, select file.